And we're good to go, Harry. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the globe you are, welcome. So, as you can see, a blank screen, I guess I'm sharing now. So, I just want to quickly ask you a question. It's going to be very simple. Whatever you see on the screen, those 4-letter word that I'm going to show you, whatever you see, I'll give you like 10 seconds. Whatever comes into your mind, please put that in the chat box. You can put as many words as you can. Whatever you see on the screen, just put the word that comes into your mind in the chat box. Yeah? I go there. So time starts now. So whatever comes into your mind when you read fail, please put that in the chat box. Fail fast, pass. Stepping stone, learning, learn from failure. First attempt in learning. Opportunity to learn, beautiful. Excellent. So the 10 seconds lasted. Yes, of course, everybody has given a pretty good abbreviation. We really like that. And also one more just added, career death in the unsafe environment. Yeah, cool. That was cool. So Anthony, it was really good. Mentioned the stepping stone, really good, Ravindra. So fail fast. So our former president, Abdul Kalam, has actually mentioned that this is the abbreviation for fail, first attempt in learning. So generally what happens is as soon as you fail, you'll think that you defeated or you're scared of it and it was like an embarrassment or a bad luck and you just don't even try anything. It's just the first attempt in learning. If you guys know, this is Abdul Kalam, our former president. So now we'll look into our agenda for today's 45 to 50-minute run through on how SAFE works. This is my quick agenda. We're going to look at framework, why SAFE, what is SAFE. Then we look at how SAFE works, implementation, levels of SAFE. And I'm going to basically add in the last slide, when do SAFE fail? This has been added recently. So we'll cover all these topics. If time permits, I'll do it in 30 to 40 minutes, but depending on the depth of information, may go up to 45. But generally, these things will take 4 days in the actual class. Implementing SAFE itself will take a 4-day full course. So I try to concise it and do it in like 30 minutes or 40 minutes so that you'll get the gist of it. Just a bit about myself. My name is Hari. Like Jason mentioned, I'm a SAFE SPC, and I've got 15 years of experience in software industry, and since 8 years, I'm working as an agile coach in government sector. I'm based in Canberra. So let's get the logistics away. So like Jason mentioned, this webinar is recorded, so and will be shared across. And exploring customization to specific organization will be discussed in actual training, which means if, say for example, if you have a question that is not relevant to the slides that I'm going to show you, do something different, feel free to reach out to me via Meetup chat, or you've got my number there, you can call me, or you can email me. I'll try and reply to it. This presentation is copyrighted. Please share it with good intentions. Take notes as needed. Maybe it's not required because it is recorded. Let's dive in. First one we're looking at is framework. So what is a framework? When I actually think about framework, I picture this. Yeah, nice little frame, picture frame. with a picture in it. Nice smiling, fitted nicely, very good. Now, when we look at this picture within that frame, you will see some things are missing. Yeah. Either the picture need to be zoomed in, or you need to make sure the frame need to be adjusted a little bit so that you will capture the entire image, or you need to change a photograph or something to make the frame work, or the picture work within a frame, right? So either way, the thing is, there is something that needed to be changed. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to record them in the chat session and we will revisit them at the very end so that others will get full benefit out of it. So having that in our mind of a framework, let's actually connect it to the real world and real frameworks that we currently use. In this case, SAFe. You've got so many frameworks. We just see what is a framework in general. So any framework will have content. Content generally talks about the structure. Yeah. So you've got your concrete slab, you've got your frames, and you've got your roof. So a base structure to start with the processes, tools, methodologies, and activities and people, everything having the roles and responsibilities, everything that fit in a house. If you say, for example, if you are looking at a frame for a house, you will have other things added to it which support the frame. So the second one is your process, which are activities that go within the structure. If say, for example, if you're taking Agile, you've got your PI planning iteration. PI is programming increment planning, iteration planning, or sprint planning, sprint retrospective, daily stand-ups. These are all your activities that go into a framework. And then the third one is your organization, nothing but people and roles. Yeah? So any framework will have these three concepts. Now we look at what is Agile and what is an Agile team. Yeah? Generally, this is pretty basic understanding to the implementation. So I just want to clear out Agile and Agile team. So I guess this is more informative. So generally what Agile is, continuous delivery of value to the customer through small frequent releases. What we're planning to achieve is that we're going to deliver smaller chunks of work packages faster so that we'll receive feedback quicker. Yeah. And what is an Agile team? From SAFe, this is coming 5 to 11 individuals who define, build, and test. Fine. They are cross-functional team who are actually working in multiple scrums. We will be able to have good visibility of what is being built, and they maintain transparency so that whatever they're building, everybody can be seen, and they define, build, and test and deliver. So be it a scrum, which is a 2-week interval. Now we'll go into why SAFe. Yeah, we got so many frameworks out there. Why SAFe? So to have a visibility and strategic alignment in planning, which means you have an enterprise level visibility. So everybody in the department will be able to clearly see. We call it as a program board in SAFe, which will have your features and dependencies outright. Everybody will be able to see within the organization who is doing what, which Agile release train is working on which product, which we'll come to that a little later. So it'll have a greater visibility of a product that is being delivered within that organization. And also it guarantees higher productivity and transparency. So when you start looking into how the program increments and Agile release trains work, we will know more about how the higher level of productivity comes into play. So it guarantees higher productivity because multiple scrums work together in one cadence. With one cadence in the sense they actually work in parallel with a time-bound program increment, which we will come to it again. So this is in a high level, yeah. And collaboration within the teams. Even the Scrum says like we need to have collaboration. Better collaboration gives greater visibility. Once we have greater visibility, we will build trust within the team. And then we will move on and then we build our products. And like I said, multiple scrums working on single purpose, which is a program increment or a PI. In safe world, we generally say PI, which is a program increment, and ART, agile release train, that works in the program increment. So multiple scrums actually work together. And multiple team members across functions working towards a common goal, meaning multiple scrum teams who are 5 to 11 people. They work together, multiple scrums, not just one, work together towards a common goal. We have those called epics. Yeah. And like I said, working on common cadence. These ones are actually why safe, but when we look into the concepts of how the program increment works and what is a cadence, how we launch arts. So when we go into those areas, we will see more about it in detail. Now we look into what is safe. This is a definition from Dean Leffingwell, who is a creator of SAFe. SAFe for Lean Enterprise is a knowledge base of proven integrated principles, practices, and competencies, 7 competencies for achieving business agility using Lean, Agile, and DevOps. When we break it down, there are 3 core concepts that he's talking about. First one is your core competencies. There are 7: execution and strategy, where Lean Agile leadership sits at the bottom, which is a foundation to have those competencies working. When you get a chance, feel free to look at what are those competencies and in-depth detail. But in this presentation, I'll be going through the actual implementation bit. So touch base the actual points very high level in here. So the second one is DevOps, like it says, development and operations coming together, where you have your business coming and working with the development team or agile team to have the continuous delivery. DevOps will have something called delivery pipeline, which will be automated so that we can deliver faster with fewer turnarounds. The next one is called Lean Agile mindset, which is a growth mindset. We will look into what is a fixed mindset later at the very end, but just to give a gist of it, it'll promote growth mindset instead of fixed mindset. Like you mentioned in the chat, fail is nothing but learning, right? So fixed mindset, fail is bad, whereas growth mindset, yes, continuous learning. So as most of you actually mentioned as continuous learning, then yes, we are on the right track. Let's look at customer centricity. Now we're going a bit deeper into SAFe now. So let's look at customer centricity. What this slide is talking about is that when you start a business, you start with maybe with very less amount of budget and very less amount of people working within that company. Yeah. So your customer will be right next to you. You are delivering value to the customer who is pretty close to you. You'll be speaking to him maybe hourly basis or daily basis or sometimes weekly basis. You will speak to him or her very closely and you'll be liaising with them to provide value and also receive feedback very quickly. When you have a business that is started, where you can see the network is really small and you've got very less amount of development and testing team. Yeah. when your business expands, right, it grows. When it grows, you've got hierarchy come into play. It's not something like we don't need hierarchy or it is bad. Hierarchy just comes into play because you've got customers' requirements being changed or modified, and obviously you will have your business expanded, and your growth is now not only in Australia, you've got businesses in all over the world. So you've got overhead of managing the people because there are so many people working together. So you will have a hierarchy. People who are working, delivering value will be at the bottom, for example. And you've got your leaders, you've got your managers, and you've got your CIOs, whoever. So it creates as a structure. When we create a structure, what happens is the customer will slowly disappear. He will be there, but from our hierarchy point of view, he is far away. People who are working may not actually communicate with the customer because people will be who are in the higher levels, manager levels or CIO levels, they will have constant interactions with the customer. As the lower people who are working on the piece of requirement that the customer gives, as they don't have much of a visibility, sometimes what happens is customer goes away and hierarchy stays. So when this is a typical hierarchy that you see in pretty much all organizations, right? And the customer will look at it and runs away. It's just an animation. So because the feedback not being heard from the customer or the value not being received by the customer in the regular intervals, it pretty much runs away. So what happens is SAFe works as a secondary operating system, which means you have your functional hierarchy. Yeah, it doesn't say that you just go and flatten all your organization and just go only leave the developers and testers and BAs in there. Just get rid of all the management team or leaders. It doesn't say that. You've got your functional hierarchy and you have your value stream network where you saw when you start your business, you've got a very limited number of people. So SAFe works in the middle as an operating system, secondary operating system, which connects the value streams, which basically the development value stream people who develop and deliver value to the customer, to the functional hierarchy, and it actually stays in the middle, bringing the customer centricity back, right? In this functional hierarchy, when we saw customer pretty much ran away, value stream, where the customer was very close. So it joins together to have the customer centricity back. Now we look into levels of SAFe. Now we understood the high level understanding of how SAFe works and what it actually brings, right? So you've got 4 levels here. First one is essential SAFe, large solution SAFe, portfolio SAFe, and full SAFe. These are pretty much like a configuration to a framework. When we link that to my first slide, where it talks about a frame that has a no picture to nice picture, remember? That basically needed some changes. The frame needs some changes, right, to align with the picture. In the same way, if your organization is not mature enough to adapt to SAFe and run in SAFe framework, using the SAFe framework and run with SAFe methodologies, principles, there are 4 configurations: essential, large solution, portfolio, and full. So in this slide, I'm showing the full SAFe as an example. And at the bottom, you see that's the URL where you can go to and see what this framework is. You've got your 7 core competencies and values and principles that are in overview, essential, our solution, portfolio. These are all clickable, and every single icon that you see here is clickable. In actual course, we will go through every single aspect of it, and we will articulate who does what is design thinking, who is an RTE, what are the roles. So pretty much we cover everything. Now, this is a quick slide of essential safe. Previous slide we saw full safe, and this is essential safe. When we click on it, this is what you see. Based on what we select, the core competencies will change, and the way that it is laid out is more easier for the organization to easily adhere to and understand what is required. And of course, the SPCs and RTEs pretty much run the majority of the show. So they will be able to understand how it works. So once again, even in Essential, you've got a lot of items and stuff in it. In this webinar, we'll be looking into implementation roadmap. So when we click on this little snake-like icon, you will be going to this, which is the actual implementation bit. It looks a bit daunting. I know I have taken almost like half an hour so far, but I'll try explaining this in 15 minutes, which will take generally 2 days. So when I see this picture, I got scared and then I just like, oh, it is like a roller coaster ride. So those steps, I'm going to dissect them and explain a little more. So, yeah. So these are the 12 steps that we follow, regardless of whether it is essential, large solution, portfolio, or full safe, regardless of what it is. These are the 12 steps that needed to be followed to implement safe within any private or government sector. Reaching the tipping point, training, creating LACE, which is Lean Center of Excellence, identifying value streams, implementation plan creation, and launching arts, coaching arts, and extending to the portfolio. So these are the 12 steps. First one we look at it is reaching the tipping point. Yeah. What is a tipping point in the first place? For that, we will see how business and customer expectations are in a typical waterfall world or any in general. Yeah. First one they ask for is do it for less money. That means we don't have enough budget, so complete it with less money. Do it in less time. Do it with less resources. Resource cut. UI is not very appealing. As you can see in this, users might have asked for a nice carpet, but once they lay it out, they finally realize that this carpet, when they look at it individually, it was nice, but they complete it and then they deploy it and everything is done in waterfall way. As soon as they deliver it, it's entirely done. They look at it going, wow, this is so daunting. And system is sluggish, not fast enough, not enough testing being done. Performance need to be done. And finally, this is more common that we changed our mind, change the functionality. Yeah, this is more common. And your competitor is clever than you. This is one of the webinars I've given previously. This has been raised. Competitor is clever than you, and we like their product. And finally, not enough testing, so many bugs in the production. So these are all their wish lists that generally we receive, which creates something called burning platform. Yeah, that means the organization is going through these many things and they're pretty much like unable to move forward. Yeah. Apart from that, when you see this picture, business might have asked for a rabbit and developer might have looked at it as a duck head. So ambiguity in the requirements. They're not clear. And developers went away and developed and finished everything and then finally deployed. And the business came in and said, we asked for a rabbit. Where did we get a duck head? This is one of those. These are the two of the examples of a tipping point. Yeah, how current organizations or uh, companies go through. Also, there is a third one, which is proactive leadership, meaning you don't really have a burning platform where customers are very tough, but the leadership would like to take the chance and implement safe in their organization. They have better vision and motivation, and they also have something called sense of urgency in that absence of a burning platform, because they think or they believe that change helps them move on. Change means progress. If they believe, yes, they do. So now we finished the first uh, step of implementing SAFe, which is reaching the tipping. So now, once we reach the tipping point, what do? We hire a SPC who performs training activities, leading SAFe, Agilists, SAFe for government, in portfolio managers. So what in this, most of the organizations, what they do is that as they're not mature enough in SAFe, they don't hire SPCs straight away to get their staff or employees trained. Generally, what they do is that they hire who are already SAFe Agilists or having the certification of SAFe for teams, who will be able to understand SAFe, and they bring them on board, and then they start doing it in real world. But according to our implementation side, we hire SPCs first so that they'll become the change agents. They work with all the department areas and they find value streams, operational value streams and development value streams, which we'll come to it next. So then they create something called Lean Center of Excellence. Lean Center of Excellence in the sense nothing but a small group of people who will be dedicated to maintain and manage the implementation of SAFe in the organization. So they will take care of the implementation across the department. Any changes, lengths of program increments, training the people, assisting them, supporting them during the program increment plannings. So this Lean Center of Excellence team will be like a very small group of people. So be it a Scrum Master, product owner, and typical Agile team can come together and form as a LACE. Yeah. So now we have trained the people and created the Lean Center of Excellence. Now we'll go to the fifth step is going to be identifying value streams. Yeah. So as we know in the hierarchy, if you see your CIO and lead and the manager, and at the bottom, people who are working for that product and producing value in general, in a hierarchy, if you see. So in this step, what we do is identify them. Who provides an operation value? Who provides a development value? Here, it is talking about you identify your operational value streams, identify your solutions or systems. We will go through them one by one. Identify people who are developing that, and identify development value streams, agile teams, and add people to deliver the full business solution. So now we look into operational value stream identification. First step, what is an operational value stream? So operation is nothing but continuous value, continuous flow of value to the customer, and identifying operations. Yeah. In this slide, what it is talking about is a loan repayment or a loan application. Yeah. So you've got, these are all individual operations. There's no systems, there's no people. The business came along, or whoever the customer came along and said, I would like to have a simple loan application system. First operation that I would like to have is attracting a customer, rate code, complete loan application, loan eligibility. These are all core banking things like loans, awarding a loan, set up a repayment, repay and close loan. So these are all operations that they want to have. Yeah, we identified the actual operation. What is the value that the business is delivering? Now we identify solutions. Solutions are nothing but systems, yeah? Products and services and customer, what exactly he wants. Those systems we identify that connects to each operation, right? So you've got, for example, I take, eligibility decision and underwriting here, right? So there it is saying that a credit scoring system need to be added to it. That system basically helps to do the credit check for a customer. So likewise, we have core banking system. So they identified the solutions or systems in this area. Once we identify these systems, we will identify the people who develop those systems, work with them, yeah, which are nothing but your value streams or development value stream, who are working with those systems and generating, who are working with the requirements and generating the value to the customer. So these are the value streams, for example, in development value streams, which will have your Scrum teams who are working through the requirements and the systems and producing the operational value. So this is in a nutshell, a very high level actually, going through what is a operational value stream, systems, people connected to it. Now, how we do this is via agile release trains. Okay. So agile release train works with the requirements or the items that they want to work by taking the information from the customer, and then they release the product on demand, which means they take, say, for example, I've got a bigger chunk of work that we just saw, loan repayment system. They take one piece at a time and they develop it incrementally. So this is what you see, a continuous delivery pipeline, which they use DevOps, where they do these three things: define, build, validate, and release, which is continuous exploration, continuous integration, and continuous deployment, and do release on demand. It is a pulling system, not a push system, meaning customer can pull the value when he wants, and when he doesn't want it, he'll just leave it in the system itself. He doesn't want to take it. In actual training session, we'll talk about feature toggles. Hope some of you might have aware of it. Say I've got so much of a software that is being developed and deployed into prod. Unless I toggle on, that prod, whatever is deployed, will be visible to the customer. So they toggle off. So that means whenever it is ready, whenever the customer wants it, then they make it visible by making those toggles on. So that's the idea of how it actually works. So this is on a very high level, again, agile release time. The next one comes creating the implementation plan. As we saw earlier, we've identified the value streams, we identified the people, we identified the agile release trains. Now we need to do the planning. That plan will have certain objectives. This is an example, for example, from Scaled Agile that we've taken. So what it is talking about is that they're launching something called PI, which is a program increment. Program increment generally will have 5 to 6 sprints, 6 iterations in SAFe, which is around 12 weeks. So this is say program increment 3, which is PI3. They have these objectives. They laid out saying, prepare for Art 1 launch. They want to have a high level objectives, train the leaders, train the Scrum Masters, train product owners, product managers, train the train the teams and launch the art, launch agile release train. And there is one uncommitted objective that they put in as an example, that prepare a movie about the art. So this is an example they prepared as a PI. This is committed. Come in July, once this is done, they've got another PI planned, program increment plan, talking about prepare art, prepare and launch art 2, which is this one. Prepare for art 3, INA with art 1, which we will talk about it, and say DevOps course with art 1. So they came up with these objectives in the next program increment. And so on, the third program increment, PI5, for example, launch arts, train RTEs, agile release train engineers, and train more SPCs. Talking about they're bringing in more SPCs this time because they've successful with a couple of PIs, program increments, and they realize that we need to extend it. And then train the advanced Scrum Master so that they'll have more, they can accelerate it. That's what SAFe says. They can accelerate launch. That is the forecast. So this is how a plan will be, very high level. So far we have covered up to here, creating the implementation plan. If you remember that snake-like picture that I showed you. So these steps we covered. Now we look into preparing for art launch. At this time of art launch, as you can see here, architects, safe for Scrum Master, POPM, product owner, product manager, safe for teams. These leading safe agilists, sorry, are trained during the preparation of the art launch. In that time, what actually happens is that they will collect all the information and they bring all the team members together during the PI planning or art launch. So during that program increment planning, what happens is we bring all the Scrum Masters, Agile teams, as well as product owners, product managers, solution architects, everyone on board. We will launch something called art release training. For that, we need to know who they are, what they do, where they're located, and everything. Generally, Agile release train engineers will create that list of people where they are geographically located, team members, name, last name, so that they will get all of them attended to the big launch. So this is the next step where they are preparing for it. And here again, like we saw, leading safe agilists, architects, product owner, product managers, Scrum Masters will get trained. So if someone comes to you and say, all right, we have gone through quite a lot of steps, it looks like massive. So safe is pretty hard to adapt. For those, what SAFe mentioned is that there is an approach called quick start approach. Yeah. What basically it talks about is that you can go safe, implement or adapt safe with 1 week time, where whatever we saw in the previous slides, Monday and Tuesday, we dedicate for training. In here, we're going to basically take everyone, train in one go. Same instructor is going to give training to multiple people. As leading safe is one of those important certification because that covers most of the people who can train and understand and work with the teams, also can support art launch. So they may take Leading Safe as a first training course and give everyone the training in one go. So 2 full days, they're giving the training, say for teams, uh, and also lean portfolio management, which takes 4 days, but they try to give as much information as possible and bring everyone train. Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to do the PI planning, which we saw. Last day, we will leave it as open space for anyone who didn't understand or who wants to know more about it or unable to create their features or or any Scrum Master who needs more assistance. So they leave that last day as a open space. So that means they have done everything in one go, in 1 week. And after that, they from Monday onwards, they start working in Safe. That's what the Safer teams come into play at the time. And then the next step, once we launch, we Scrum Masters and Agile coaches and release train engineers, they work together, they work with the team, and they perform something called um, iteration planning, backlog refinements, daily stand-ups. These are all events that you might have already aware of. So team coaching, most of the Scrum Masters will be very working closely and coaching. And art coaching, generally PI, planning system demos, and Scrum or Scrum meetings. These are all done by release train engineers who work very closely with the Scrum Masters and product owners, making sure the priority items are delivered. Now, previous slide, we saw something about inspect and adapt. What happens is once we launch art, before we launch the second one, we do something called inspect and adapt event, which will be run by RTEs. Here we'll include agile teams, RTEs, and system architects, solution architects, business owners, stakeholders. We involve everyone to have the metrics going, like how we have actually completed our PI. It is like, say, if you're looking at retrospective in a 2-week interval, similar kind of thing. Every PI we run an inspect and adapt event, which basically gives across the board what need to be changed, what need to be updated, what is the approach that we need to take in the next PI. It is like a retrospective. So once we do that, we do something called launching more arts and value streams. As we are more familiar with working with it, we understood the implementation. We worked with it. We launched arts. We worked with cadence. We got transparency. As the team is working collaboratively, working together, we launch more arts. Here in this slide, you can see it's a bit confusing, but as you can see, this is the input tunnel. It is nothing but backlog of items. Whatever is needed by the customer will be pulled into here. Just write whatever he needs. There is no WIP limit, work in progress limit. We just write it. The second one is transformation backlog. So here we're going to do the value stream preparations. You saw the development value streams, right? We understood the operation value stream, and we got the systems, and we got development value streams working for the systems and working with the product owners. So they identify more value streams based on what the customer wants. And here we've got art structure that supports the value stream, which is nothing but tracks. And the last one is sustain and improve. As we are launching more arts, what says is that it is a relentless improvement. It's not end, it is a relentless improvement, and it continues. And those arts, release trains, continue. And the last one is extend to the portfolio and accelerate. Yeah. So in here, we're going to say, we're going to introduce business agility, organizational agility, and continuous learning culture, and making it to the next level portfolio. We started with essential, and then we're going to the portfolio and full safe, and apply learnings across the enterprise. Last one is going to be trained by Lean Portfolio Manager and advanced Scrum Masters. When we finish like 4 or 5 release trains, that's when you know that you want to take it to the next level, and that's where you train the advanced Scrum Masters so that they'll have more control on the team and they can pretty much work with them. So that's about the implementation in a nutshell. And like I said, I added this slide at the very end after speaking with a couple of people in my previous place when I did the webinar. When do SAFe fail? Does it fail? Yes, of course. First one is not implementing correctly, taking shortcuts, meaning you have done everything right, you implemented nicely, but then when it comes to reality, people doesn't turn up for stand-ups. You know, this happens more often than I saw. People don't come to stand-ups and they just give their updates like whatever is yesterday, it is today, or they're waiting on something. So, and most of the user stories are not having the correct complexity levels. They have no story points, or all of a sudden the graph goes at the very end when you see the burn down chart. It stays for 14 days on flat, and last day it'll all go down, which means entire team updates the Kanban board last day. So they have implemented it, but they didn't do it correctly, which leads to some failures. And leadership doesn't support. That's a key thing. If leadership doesn't have the mindset of change mindset or fail fast mindset, or they don't think that failure is learning, fail is just like going backwards, it's very hard to implement. And definitely SAFe fails there. Culture doesn't meet the strategy. It's a big one. Culture is like a backbone for any department. Any place, culture is the key. There are 4 types of cultures in a very high level. One is a collaborative. Second one is creative. Third one is control. Fourth one is compete. If you fall into compete or control cultures and you try to work on collaborative culture in your mind, it won't work. Unless you train the organization to have the collaborative culture or leadership supports, it will not happen. So you might have a lot of good strategies. Your plan might be good. You've got essential SAFe that you want to implement, but the culture doesn't support it, won't work. And have a fixed mindset, which is the example of that. So like I said, we saw in some slides ago, we talked about when we look at the definition of SAFe, we looked at growth mindset, right? So this is fixed mindset. If you have this, then definitely there is a high chance that SAFe fails. Just as an example, looking at, say, challenges. You have challenges, then they pretty much avoid them. They don't care. So if that is the case, if you're avoiding challenges all the time, and if you're not taking them, that's definitely going to go downhill. So there are a couple of others, as you can see here. So these are all big causes of a fixed mindset where it fails. So that's me. So have a positive mindset and focus on positive. Always think glass is half full instead of glass is half empty. Thank you. And we can go through the questions now.
Awesome. Thanks, Hari.
I'll stop sharing.
Does anyone have any questions for Hari? Myself? So Anthony had to go, but before he left, he posed a question, which was, whilst it's not a burning platform for him yet, he knows it will come. Do you wait until the platform is on fire before changing?
do you wait until the platform is on fire before changing? No, it's not about changing though. We're not talking about changing here. There is a reason. It might be one of those reasons to move to Agile. There might not be a burning platform there. Sometimes the leadership can support. All right, we have seen a good value in moving to a safe, or we would like to implement it. So there, it is not something that it required to be burnt or wait until it burns and then you change. Something that's a good question.
Mm. The burning platform is definitely a motivator for implementing a different way of working. But there might be other ones out there. And in particular, you've got a choice as to which training that you launch first, and that could be based on the burning platform, or perhaps maybe it's based on the best competitive advantage in market for a particular product, or it's the right season to do a particular product release. Might be other ways as to why you would pick to change your way of working. So there are a number of ways. Maybe because that's likely to be the most successful one by picking the first one. Thanks, Alexandra. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. This is Khaled. It's mainly about the number of ART and how do you determine how many ARTs would you go for, and its relation with the value stream maps. Is there any kind of relations there as well?
Sorry, if I'm understanding it correctly, how many arts we're going to launch?
Yes. How do you determine how many arts would you need in relations to the value stream map? If the number of steps or stages in the value stream map are specific number that determines or indicate to you the number of arts or not?
First one, thanks, Ravindra. Start with one. Yes, we need to start with the first one. Yes. So how do we define how many are required? In the initial stages, might not be 100% accurate. We can't say to the management team like, okay, now we are going to save. So what you're saying is we need several arts to be launched. Every art or a PI is going to be 12 weeks. So how many arts are you going to launch so I can budget it? If you're doing that, you're doing waterfall, you're not doing agile first place, because you're trying to have the same mindset. And the second thing is, it is very highly unlikely that a RTE or a SPC can look at the current state of the system and say, this many are required. However, when they launch art, they will see how many, say, identify value streams, right? And they have got operational value streams. We saw those lone operational value streams, right? So how many operations are completed within one value stream? When they look at it, instead of number of arts, if they look at it, how much work is in the pipeline and how much work is completed, based on that, you will be able to come to a number very high level. And that too depends on a lot of factors, because you need to consider, changes that we're going to allow for the customers to make. Does it answer my question?
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
If If there are no other questions, what I'd like to do is to say thank you very much, Hari, for your presentation. Awesome stuff. It's great to see the amount of detail that you've got in there, and certainly know your stuff. So thank you very much for joining us and contributing your time. I'll stop the recording now, and
Thanks, Jason.